What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Not really a video, but an audio only review. Here to just kind of sit back and talk about a movie that is coming out later this week on Shudder. You guys can catch it later this week, drop it on Shudder as an original there. And so if you have that streaming service, you can expect to see it pop up on there. This movie is directed by Sam Walker and stars people like Lucy Martin, Sophie, Vavasseur, I'm not really sure how to pronounce her name, and then you also have Chelsea Edge. And here in this review, I'm joined by the Big Rob Theory. How's it going, my friend?
Yo, what's happening, everybody? Hello, welcome.
And yeah, this is an early screener that we got to check out for Shudder, like I mentioned. So yeah, end of the week, you guys will see that popping up. And yeah, what can I say about this movie right out of the gate? I was interested, and I'll say I was consistently interested throughout the film to see where it would go, but I ultimately was not a fan. Ultimately, I think the best part of this movie for me were the practical effects, and yeah, I think, you know, some of the actresses at times in this film gave good performances. There was a lot of range, but when it comes to the dialogue and the overall narrative and just the story that really did unfold, a lot of times it felt a little aimless, and it just felt like the premise wasn't really fully utilized. And before we get into our general thoughts after that, the basic premise is you have these three women that are going to one of their homes, and they're going to go, it's kind of like a vacation home or so, and they're going to go and, you know, spend some time, do a photo shoot, and go be sexy women by the pool.
And party with just the three of them and nobody else, but yeah.
Pretty much. That's the basic premise of what's going on here. And then, you know, there's a meteor shower that's supposed to happen. So one of them who's like addicted to like social media and kind of has a social media presence, she's like an influencer. She's like, oh, I want to live stream this whole event. She's not able to because one of the meteorites that comes crashing down onto the planet falls right into their pool and turns out to be this rodent creature that I did feature in the thumbnail. And I actually thought it was like a turtle when I first saw that picture, to be completely honest. But yeah, this is an alien horror film that is light on the horror, but heavy on the bizarre. Looking at it on IMDb, it says it's a comedy horror sci-fi film. I thought it was more of just a horror sci-fi. I really didn't see this film as anything comedic at all. I didn't really find this movie to be funny.
No.
I actually, just now when we were looking at IMDb, we were like, this movie was supposed to be a comedy. Literally could not tell throughout. It didn't feel like, you know, I'm a huge fan of horror comedy. I didn't really feel like it was leaning into comedy too much, to be completely honest. But it had a bizarre premise. Rob, what are your thoughts?
Well, man, okay, so we obviously watched this together, and you saw my face like throughout the whole thing. One, there was nothing really comedic about this. Actually, I lied. It was comedic to see how bad the dialogue was, because there was just what, like a 45-minute period that we were like, what are they talking about? Like, why would you choose to use those words? Like, I don't know. It just didn't. A lot of things just didn't make sense to me. And yes, the entire premise. I like the idea behind the premise. I actually really do. It's just they just didn't execute it very well, in my opinion, because there was not much horror to this at all. Or to be honest, really, if I'm gonna be honest, there wasn't any. There wasn't any.
Yeah, there was just more like horror imagery, especially in the later half of the film. But yeah, it's very light on the horror. It's definitely heavy on the bizarre, and they definitely go for it with some really over-the-top and crazy concepts, especially in the last like 30 minutes. And, you know, I got to commend them for that. You know, they were going for it. It feels like the last 30. Yeah, the practical effects are great, and that was kind of the best part. The creature is a practical, like, animatronic that we see throughout the course of the film. The blood and gore throughout the course of the film is really solid as well. So on a technical level, I thought the film was well made. I will say that the sound mix was a little bit off. We kept talking about that. There was moments where the music was ridiculously loud compared to the dialogue, and it was hard to hear, or I just kind of kept having to play with the volume from beginning to end because music would kick in and it would just get so loud. I had to put the bass down in our sound system and everything. But yeah, overall, you know, I just found the film to be a little bit aimless and uneventful at times. It feels like the last 30 or 40 minutes of the movie is really what they wanted to do with the movie. Like that was what they were the most excited to do with the movie, and it didn't really feel like they knew what to do with the earlier part of the film. And it just felt like an aimless movie with these three women that just had very unnatural sounding and feeling dialogue. A lot of the dialogue delivery wasn't all that great for me. And yeah, I wasn't really blown away by the performances or the story here. I will say that, yeah, what were you saying?
No, I was just saying I wasn't either because it just didn't match up. Like the whole element of this movie, the entire vibe that you get when you see the seed and then you see the intro and you're like, oh, okay, well, I kind of have a slight idea of where this could go, but they obviously would make it obscure. It just doesn't really grip you. It doesn't make you, the only reason that I think we stuck through it is because we like to watch movies and we want to see where it goes. But for other people that's like a casual movie watcher that doesn't really like want to review anything or do anything with it, they'll probably just be like, yeah, I'm turning this off.
Yeah,
because it just did not grip me, man. And I don't think that it's very gripping at all. Like I said, there's some elements I like, the whole practical effects, the gore, the blood. The later half of the movie got a little better, but it's even by then the movie couldn't be saved, in my opinion. It was just like not.
Well, the characters weren't compelling at all.
And there was no character development either.
Yeah, they were just kind of boring one-note characters. You have the one woman who, it's her house, and that's kind of who her character is. Oh my God, we're at my house, and this creature's here. Get that creature out of my house. And she's the kind of the panicked one. And then there's the, the one that's on the poster, who's like, the beautiful blonde one who's got the attitude. She's the influencer one. She's the strong-willed one. And then there's the other character that's kind of the main character, but not kind of the main character. And, she's more of like the voice of reason throughout the course of the film. Yeah, the character of Charlotte. And yeah, I just feel like they were all kind of one note throughout. And I was most interested in what was going on with this creature, obviously. And I would say that was probably the most interesting part of the film. That's what kept me engaged. That's kind of what kept me just interested to see where it was going to go. But ultimately, yeah, the narrative just wasn't there for me. Again, the practical effects, really solid. And I think that people like Lucy Martin, though she gave really bad dialogue delivery at times, the range of which her character has to kind of go through some things, especially in the later part of the film, she has to do a bunch of kind of crazy acting. I thought that she kind of showed a lot of range. It wasn't always perfect for me or anything, but I thought she showed a lot of range. I thought the actresses overall showed range, though there were times where the dialogue delivery and things weren't all that great. But if you're one of those people, like Robert said, like a casual moviegoer, and you're going into this for a, hey, I'll give it the 10 to 20 minute test, you know what I mean? And if not, I'm going to turn it off.
Just know in 5 minutes you're going to turn it off.
Yeah, pretty much. It's one of those movies that in the first 15, 20 minutes we were like, all right, well, let's see where this goes. But it really felt kind of aimless at that point, and it kind of remained that way until a little bit after the halfway point where things started to pick up. So, yeah, honestly, I don't really have much more to say about this. Like I said, the movie is written and directed by Sam Walker, and at the end of this week, you guys can see it popping up on Shudder. So, yeah, big thanks to you guys for listening, to my portion at least. I'll let Rob wrap up his thoughts, and then we'll wrap this up because I genuinely don't have much to say about this movie. I don't think this is a movie that everybody's going to love. I can say, though, that I think this is a movie that because of how bizarre it is, there probably will be a niche cult audience that probably will latch onto this movie, especially because of a lot of the effects and stuff like that.
Every movie has it, man. So, yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Every movie has it.
So, what are your final thoughts on this movie, my friend?
I will say I didn't really think about it until you mentioned it. The whole, Lucy Martin's performance later on. I'll give it to her. Now that I think about it, it's just the way how this character, I wouldn't say progressed, but went through in the movie and had to do certain things. And I think that her eccentric nature helped with doing what she needed to do for that specific role in the latter half of the movie. Sophie Vavasseur, she could be good. I just feel like she wasn't really given many good things to say and do.
She was just the panicky
panicky friend. Yeah, and I mean that's okay, but there's a way that you could be the panicky friend and it be still a little bit gripping. I just think that this didn't have as much decent direction. I'm not dogging on Sam Walker, whatever. I got to give him props for the cinematography and everything,
he had a vision for the film. I just think
the execution just missed the mark a little bit, just a little bit. And I think with a little bit better leading with the story, this could have been something that would have been really, really, really good. But as you said, there's going to be a following for this movie because there's a following for every movie. You know, there's movies that we love that people hate. You know, I love Thor Ragnarok, but some people hate it. You know.
Yeah, well, that's like a more widely loved film. But this is one of those movies like the Greasy Strangler or like, what's another one of those weird, just like a weird ass
Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
Like, yeah, but even that one's a little bit widely loved. But that one has a cult fan base. Yeah. So like, and that doesn't work for everybody either. But like, yeah, it's one of those movies. Yeah, like a Lamb or something like that, like or like
and all that stuff.
Yeah, like those movies that are a little bit more niche. You know what I mean? Like I think this is a movie that will probably, call to fans like that a little bit more. But yeah, that's the story. It was not there.
Nope, not even a little bit. And then the ending just had me like, why?
Yeah, it definitely leans into some pretty generic tropes near the end that you've seen other movies like this do, and it's just kind of like, all right, well. Yeah, I found myself, funny enough, in the last 5 minutes, I was the most bored I had been in the whole movie because I just knew how it was going to end right now. And I was just like, okay, cool. Like, let's just... Even Rob said, like, at the very end, like, he goes, can we just wrap this up already? Like...
Yeah, man. It just... The way how it was going, we both looked at each other like, oh, well, here we go. Yeah. And then we... Like, I think... I don't think that we called some things, but I think both of us, like, in our minds were like, all right, well, this is what's about to happen. Oh, look at that. Surprise, surprise. It's just... It was too what's the word I'm looking for? Too straightforward, too straightforward, but
too predictable.
Too predictable. Thank you. That's what it was. It was just too predictable, and it's okay if for some things to be predictable, but just come on, man. For a movie like this, I would have loved to see a really big twist, like a really, really, really big twist. I don't want to spoil anything, but there's two people, whatever, and I think that if something would have switched, you know what I mean? Something would have switched with someone. And then been like, oh crap, like, you know what I mean? I think it would have been a little bit more interesting because it just would have created this different dynamic in the mind. I don't know, bro.
It's hard to talk about it without spoiling it. And I definitely don't want to do that, but like, I feel what you're saying. Like, there's just certain elements. Like the premise was cool, like, and the creature design on this thing, and like the little shocking moments. But then when there's like a moment that goes like trippy in this movie, and this is like the last thing I'll say because I know I said I was gonna wrap it up already, but. There's like this trippy moment in the movie where it's like just a bunch of like they try to do that thing when it's like in a horror movie where it's just a bunch of images just flashing all over the screen, and some of it's all gory and intense and crazy, and like, and really there's really no explanation for like any of that. Like, it just feels like something that was inserted to kind of have that shock value, like, kind of look to the movie, but ultimately the movie itself really didn't have that much content. So that's the end of my thoughts. A movie comes out on Shudder at the end of the week. I don't know if this is going to blow away everybody who has Shudder, but I am curious to hear what people have to say. If you like this movie, please leave a comment and let us know what you liked about it. If you didn't like this movie and you agree with us, let us know what you didn't like about it. Maybe what you did like about it is you like the effects as well as we did. Rob, any final thoughts, my friend?
Absolutely not. Just, go into this with little to no expectations at all, and you will do fine because, this was something that I thought would have been at least a little bit more interesting. But, again, other people will like it, other people won't. So that's pretty much all I really got to say. Thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you for supporting Anthony on his channel. It means a lot to him, it means a lot to me as his friend. And, we appreciate you taking your time out to listen to this smackdown of this movie. I'm just kidding. But no, seriously, thank you for, joining us on this discussion.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you guys so much for watching or listening. And you guys can find the link to Rob's channel down below in the description box as usual. Go give him some love. Let him know I sent you. And we'll see you guys in the next one, all right? Bye-bye.
Until next time.